Good morning. Welcome to a podcast regarding the DraftKings Major League Baseball early slate for Monday, April 10th, 2017. So I am Gus Almashini, and this video is for Advanced Sports Analytics. And we're going to talk about some of the best pitchers to pick up this morning or afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in, and some of the best stacks. So we're going to start with Chris Sale. Doesn't really need much of an introduction. We know he's a great pitcher. Definitely a top five pitcher over the past few years. Um, he is the most expensive pitcher on today's morning slate. And if you look at his history against the Detroit Tigers, not great. Miguel Cabrera has hit him well over the years. Victor Martinez really well, 20 for 46 with a 435 batting average and out of the world OPS. Upton, not too great, but Kinsler, okay. But, with the two of the strongest hitters of the Tigers hitting them well, not so sure if Chris Sale might be the best value. Um, Looking at his distribution that you can find on the ASA website. Um, so it's pretty consistent. Can get you about 2 to 3 fantasy points per dollar, and he is going for about $12,400, I believe. So, he could get you about 20 plus fantasy points if he pitches well. But it is interesting if you take a look at this other peak where he's close to zero. It's a fairly strong chance he may not do so well and could get blown up. So I would, especially opening day in Detroit, and we're going to talk about the weather in Detroit in a little bit. Don't know if this is going to be the best option for you for the early slate. Instead, we'll go with the other side. The home pitcher, Justin Verlander, was considered a top five pitcher probably about 5, 6 years ago. Struggled a little bit in, I think, 2013, 2014, 2015. Last year, bounced back strongly. His record against the Red Sox is really strong. Pedroia only 2 for 22. Hanley Ramirez only 2 for 10. Chris Young only 1 for 7. Not sure if Bogarts will be back from his bereavement, but 3 for 12. Overall, 200 batting average, OPS 520. He's been able to strike him out, 25 strikeouts, 8 walks. So Verlander might be pretty strong. And again, if we look at his historical stats, Verlander was probably one of the best pitchers for a while, then had a hard time cracking the 200 strikeout mark and staying healthy in 2014, 2015. Maybe getting knocked around by the Giants in the 2012 World Series may have affected him, or dating Kate Upton, don't know. But look at his WAR, jumped back to 6.6. Maybe the engagement with Kate Upton helped, I don't know. But anyway, whatever it is, it looks like he's bounced back. 254 strikeouts, 57 walks. So we can expect Verlander to be pretty strong today. And his first start this year was also very strong. Very nice distribution from last year. Close to 2.5 points per $1,000 DraftKings salary. So he's going for a little over 10,000. So he could get about 20 plus points today. You do have to be cautious. I mean, he did have some rough starts last year, but for the most part, pretty tight distribution. So we could expect him to play well. And let's talk about the weather in Detroit. So the wind is blowing in pretty strong from right field. So even though the weather is fairly warm for Detroit, but there's a bit of moisture. If you look at the humidity and the chance of precipitation, wind blowing in, pretty strong, close to 20 miles per hour. So, and also the over-under for this game is, I think, 7.5. So we expect there to be a pitcher's duel and probably favoring the Tigers. Another pitcher we'll talk about before we summarize all the pitchers and move on to batters will be James Paxton of the Seattle Mariners. They're at home today, and I believe this is their home opener. Paxton has a great record against the Astros. Astros kind of struggled a little bit. I know they've got a pretty good record, but kind of expected better numbers from Altuve and Correa so far this year. And they hasn't been there, and history against Paxton's not there either. Paxton's done very well against the heart of the Astros order. No one's really been hitting him well, and these are division rivals, of course. The game conditions is interesting. So this game, again, will be in Seattle. It's going to be cold, about 50 degrees, and for those who have never been to Safeco, it's not in a complete enclosure of the roof. You actually can feel the elements of the weather when you're sitting in a game at Safeco. Just really more of an umbrella than anything else. Um, so the cold weather, I think, will help some in keeping the score low. It's got a low over/under. And if you look at Paxton's record in a retractable stadium, you can look at strikeout to walk ratio. It's very impressive. 5.85, 76 strikeouts to 13 walks. This is over 12 games from the last, I think, 5 seasons. So the roof should be closed today in Seattle. There is rain in the forecast. So it's not going to be open. It's not for opening day. So we do expect the roof to be closed. And if it is, definitely this strongly favors Paxton. Distribution a little bit wider than some of the top pitchers like Sale or Verlander. But interestingly, we do see a lot of area past 2.5 DraftKings fantasy points per $1,000 salary. So there's a very good chance that he might just shine. And given a salary of about $8,400 on DraftKings, if you can get 3 to 4 DraftKings points per $1,000 salary, you're looking at a 20-plus point game from him as well. So in summary, Sale, Verlander, Paxton, those are probably the pitchers to go with. The other pitchers were not going to be very strong. We're going to talk about why when we go over the history of the lineups that they're facing today. But Verlander, Paxton might be the best way to go. Too expensive to do Sale and Verlander, even though that could be a pitcher's duel with a low run total from Vegas. Plus, you get just one win if you take both. Not enough money for offense. Verlander's probably the better option. Paxton, we feel, is going to be the best value for today's early slate. Now we're going to move on to offense. The Tampa Bay Rays are hitting the ball really well. Strong history against Michael Pineda. Pineda has struggled this year. The batting line correlation is strong, which we'll see in a sec. Souza, who had a great game yesterday, is a phenomenal option, as well as some of his cohorts with Dickerson, Morrison, and Miller. Pineda's numbers against the Rays, pretty awful. Dickerson 8 for 14 at 1.714 OPS. Souza 10 for 21, given how hot he is, 4 home runs. And we're also going to talk about the weather too, which will help Tampa some. Morrison strong, Miller if you're looking for a middle infielder, strong numbers and not terribly expensive. You could go with Longoria, not great numbers, but he could always blow up. Pineda's distribution. In this case, we're not going to look at the ratio between DraftKings points and salary, but just his DraftKings point distribution from last year, kind of all over the place. We don't really expect to have a great game from Pineda against a strong hitting team like the Rays. I don't care if it's opening day in New York or whatever it is, or they're playing in New York. This is not going to be, I think, a pretty game for Pineda. So, we definitely feel Rays can do very well against Pineda today. Just for comparison purposes, Sale, his DraftKings points look like that. Again, Pineda's over here, a little bit closer to 10 DraftKings point as an average for last year. Sale's over there. You can see most of the area is concentrated at 20 plus. So, this is a pretty solid piece of data you can look at, which you can find on the ASA website. Tampa Bay correlation. If you look at like the 5 and 6 hitters, where you could probably expect Morrison and Souza, 0.31. That is really, really strong over here. So we really feel you can stack Tampa and do well today. Also, if you look at some of the leadoff hitters, the leadoff hitter with like 4, 5, 6, depending on what lineup they're going to go with today, could also help you some as well. And again, the weather. The wind's looking like it's blowing a little bit, not terribly strong, but a little bit to left field. Temperature should be pretty warm. No precipitation, clear weather. So ball could fly at Yankee Stadium today. And the air density is getting a little thick too. Oakland A's, another stack. Didn't do too well yesterday, but we'll look at the history against Ian Kennedy. Batting line correlation fairly strong. Wind is blowing out really strong towards right field, which can help left-handed hitters. Alonso, Plouffe, and Davis squared. So Raja and Chris Davis have strong history against Ian Kennedy. Numbers don't lie. Raja Davis 8 for 21. Trevor Plouffe 7 for 17. Alonso 6 for 14. Do check the lineup to see if Alonso is starting. Of course, Chris Davis is always reliable. Best power hitter on the A's, 3 for 9. Very strong wind going towards right field. Um, Clear weather, no precipitation, air density not as thick, but the wind should help. Correlation. Usually you should expect some of those hitters around 3, 4, 5, 6. Roger Davis might lead off, but if you look at like 4, 5, 4, 6, Chris Davis as well as Plouffe or Alonso, depending on where they're batting, could help each other out. Other batters to consider. You could do an Arizona stack with the heart of the order with Goldschmidt, Owings, and Drury. Um, Goldschmidt obviously is very reliable, 5 for 11. History against Matt Moore. Matt Moore did not do well against Arizona last week. Longoria always could be a great option if you have enough money to spend. And of course, Posey had a great game yesterday and may continue that, especially for opening day at AT&T Park. Well, that concludes early slate. Good luck to you. Hopefully, you can fit all these guys into a lineup, and we will check in again soon. Take care.